Hey, Josebo! Eugene here. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how you can find the right professional for your renovation requirements. For Singaporeans, a renovation project is usually one of the bigger ticket items in life. You may be a seasoned homeowner who has gone through the renovation process more than once, but the last time was a long time ago. Or you are a new homeowner to be who is clueless on how to begin. The unfamiliarity of the process and relatively high cost can make you feel like a headless chicken. Don't worry, continue watching and allow me to break it down for you. Stay tuned to the end for the link to a free checklist to help yourself find the right professional for your project. Don't forget to subscribe for updates on this channel. 卖涂料，来！ I'll start by listing down the various housing types in Singapore, and for each housing type I'll share with you what are the typical renovation requirements, and finally which professional is most suited for your project. Let's start off with HDB housing. There are two main categories here, the BTO flat and resale flat. BTO flats can come fitted with or without flooring, sanitary fittings, and bedroom doors depending on the buyer's decision. So here are some possible scenarios and my personal recommendations for BTO owners. If you think that your flat is very small and there's not enough natural light, there's not enough space for storage, and you plan to have kids within 5 years, or your children will be attending school near the estate, then I will highly recommend you to hire an interior designer. By sharing your future plans and practical requirements, a trained ID can translate them into a holistic spatial solution that is also visually appealing. Notice that the requirements are actually portraying the physical limitations of the flat and situations that will happen in the future. The owner may not have the time and resources to find an integrated solution and will at most have piecemeal solutions. By hiring an ID, the owner can convey all the practical and abstract concerns to him or her, who will then sort and synthesize the info to put forth a design proposal for you. After the proposal and price is agreeable, the ID will manage your renovation and hand the keys back to you when the job is completed. Easy peasy, right? Let's look at some of the pros and cons of hiring an ID. The first, there is only one point of contact throughout the whole renovation process. You don't have to struggle to liaise with a contractor, to call your carpenter, to find your electrician. Everything is done for you, and you just have to tell one person, and that one person is your ID who will get it done for you. Second, you will have a fully customizable and unique design proposal to answer your aesthetic wants and practical needs. This means that the ID will customize everything for you down to the smallest details and the color choices, of course. Third, you will have a single comprehensive code to inform you on what items will be included or excluded. This makes accounting on your end easier to manage, and everything will be clearer in terms of pricing. Fourth, someone will oversee and manage your project. Work is able to progress even while you're overseas or busy. Your ID will provide periodic updates accordingly as the project progresses. Fifth, by hiring an interior designer, it will be an almost hassle-free process. The owner's role would be to approve or reject suggestions and make decisions, and of course to make timely payments for the work that is done. Let's see what are some of the considerations that the owner has to think about when hiring an interior designer. First, the owner must land on a reliable ID firm to enjoy the advantages that I mentioned previously. I might do a separate episode on how to increase your chances on hiring a good and reliable ID firm. And the second consideration that the owner has to think about is that whether or not the premium that he or she is paying for to enjoy the services and conveniences is befitting of their budget. Next, imagine that you are very sure that you will either be selling or renting out your BTO flat upon reaching MOP. Then I may recommend you to hire a contractor and possibly an interior decorator or stylist. The assumption here is that you know you won't be staying in the unit for long, but still want to maintain a certain lifestyle within the 5 years of staying in the flat. You roughly can imagine the look and feel of what is home to you, but you don't have time or are clueless about where to source for furniture, lighting, and accessories. In this scenario, I would recommend that you hire a stylist and a main contractor. The main contractor will listen and deliver based on what you instruct. The key word is instruct. Uncle is not trained to be an ID who will think ahead for you, but will follow your instructions and deliver what is required. In this case, you may want to focus on the kitchen and bathrooms, and consult a stylist on how to style the rest of the house with loose furniture, lighting, and accessories. The key advantage of hiring a stylist is that you don't have to deal with the hassle of self-sourcing the various items and worry about things not looking right together. When it's time to sell or rent out, you can also decide whether or not you want to include the furniture or move them to your next residence. Again, I'll put forward some considerations for you to think about. The pros. First, there may be some cost savings when compared to hiring an interior designer. Second, for owners who want to achieve an Instagrammable home with minimal effort, can also do so by hiring a stylist. Third, the furniture, lighting, and accessories can also be brought along with you to your next residence when you sell or rent out. Let us look at some of the challenges. First, trying to communicate your vision with the contractor uncle may not be the easiest. I will recommend showing images of what you mean rather than verbally describing what you want. Meet on site when communicating to minimize miscommunication and guesswork on either party. Second, efficiency of storage and customization options cannot be maximized due to the lesser reliance on built-in carpentry. To be fair, there are some freestanding modular storage systems out there in the market, but these systems are still unable to match the flexibility of custom built-in carpentry. Let's move on to the HDB resale flat scenarios. I'll divide them into two loose categories, the 5-year-old flats and the 10-year-old or older flats. For the buyers of the 10-year-old or older flats, I will recommend you to hire an ID, who will, based on a site visit, make recommendations to you on what is the scope of your renovation based on the condition of your unit. These recommendations may include rewiring of the unit, replacing aircon systems, etc. etc. The ID will be invaluable to you in this case, as you'll know what needs to be done in your renovation project now to prevent a possible series of ad hoc repair works down the road after moving in. No owner will want to tolerate the noise and dust in a live-in unit and cleaning up afterwards repetitively. For owners who have bought a unit that has just passed its MOP, I assume one of the reasons that made you decide on your purchase would be that you are relatively comfortable with the existing look and condition of the flat. If a fresh coat of paint, relocating some lights and switches, replacing hinges and servicing aircons is all that you require, you might consider being your own project manager. In this case, you will contact and manage the various technicians and workers to refresh your flat. If your project scope is more than what I've just described, then you should consider stepping up to hire a main contractor or an ID. The same idea can be also applied to owners who have bought a resale condominium. Your newly purchased resale unit may have been well maintained by its previous owner, and you are happy with the overall aesthetics of the space. In this case, a handyman or contractor will be sufficient to spruce up your residence. Of course, should you be thinking of revamping the entire unit instead, then the recommendation would be to hire an ID. For owners who have purchased a condominium which has just obtained TOP, I'm sure that you are aware that in most projects, the kitchen and bathrooms come fully fitted out. Bedrooms have built-in wardrobes included. To get the unit ready with the least effort, the owner just needs to have lights installed, furniture delivered, and with a clean-up, the unit is ready to move in. A step up from this stage would be to hire a stylist to put together a look for you and to source for items on your behalf. Some owners may have other practical requirements like additional storage, built-in storage, bed platforms, or some dining table extension from the dry kitchen. In this case, hiring a carpentry-based contractor would be the price-efficient option. However, if you are looking at elevating the entire look and feel of your new home, regardless of whether to retain the existing finishes or not, then an ID would be ideal to propose that space-transforming design scheme to you. Last but not least, for the landed property owners, your decision will depend on the type of work that you plan to carry out. There are 3 categories of construction work that can be conducted on a landed property. I will describe them to a decreasing level of extent. The first is called redevelopment. Most people would describe this as a tear down and rebuild. This is the largest job scope that can be done to a landed property. You will need to employ the services of an architectural firm who will liaise with various authorities, professional engineers, and other approvals to get the job done. Some architectural firms may also provide interior design services. Then, depending on your preference, you may also extend the architect's scope to cover the interior works or to engage a separate interior design firm to collaborate with the architect to realize your dream home. A step down from a redevelopment would be a reconstruction. In this situation, the owner may replace more than 50% of the columns and floor slabs, add floor levels that increase the total floor area by about 50%. Think of it as a major reconstruction work just falling short of redevelopment. It is also advisable for the owner to engage an architect for such projects. However, a construction firm with the necessary expertise can also be considered. In both cases, a good track record of completed projects that you can visit or at least drive past would be the first step in deciding whether you have found the right professional for the right job. The last type of work that can be done to your landed property would be an addition and alteration, or A&A for short. This is where there is less than 50% replacement of columns and floor slabs, no addition of floor levels, but with an allowance of an increase in floor area of not more than 50% of the total floor area. Who to hire for an A&A project is largely dependent on your scope of works. If you're not planning to replace any structural elements, then you may want to consider hiring an ID-on contractor, in which I've discussed the considerations for each professional in the earlier part of the video. However, if your project still requires minor alterations to the structure, then some ID firms can recommend suitable construction firms whom they can work with to get the necessary authority approvals and expertise to get the job done. To summarize, most A&A projects require some combination of expertise to realize them. A suggestion for owners would be to interview a few shortlisted firms with a consistent brief and decide who is able to provide the most satisfactory proposal in terms of price, design, and point of communication. A single point of communication is most ideal in many cases as it minimizes miscommunication and confusion throughout the project. To wrap up, the homeowner will benefit most if there is clarity and consistency in your design brief to the various professionals. The first step is to discuss and agree with your spouse or other co-owners on what is it to be done. You may also agree to disagree and pose this as a design challenge to the professionals to present creative solutions to you. Then it will be to maintain consistency in your brief so that your dream home can be realized in a timely and well-executed manner. Hope I've managed to help owners and owners to be out there to achieve some clarity on your renovation journey. If you are still unsure, do click on the link on screen for your free checklist to find out who is the most suitable professional for your renovation project. Don't forget to like and subscribe on this channel to receive latest updates. I'm Eugene and this has been Shijin Does It.